Violence is not a new phenomenon to society. My hometown, Goldsboro, North Carolina, is ranked number 81 out of the top 100 most dangerous cities in the U.S., according to an online report. So when I think of violence, I think of homicides, robberies, and gang violence. So when coming to UNC, I felt like this was one of the safest places in America. People smiling, a more diverse culture, and the environment was completely different. However, D Squared Mac took note that interpersonal violence is an issue people in college feel uncomfortable talking about. Many people, including myself, misconceive college campuses free of criminal acts such as violence. Evidence shows that college campuses are not in their own bubble, but more of a mirror of general happenings in society, and interpersonal violence is no different. Interpersonal violence is more common within relationships ranging in between 18 to 24 years old, which is the vast majority of traditional student bodies. UNC in particular does a great job at making students aware and prepared through one-act trainings and Haven trainings, Alert Carolina emails. But it seems as if they have taken a break during summer school while the problem still exists. Our group, D Squared Mac, is here to raise awareness that the problem is still aware during the summer.
Personal violence is any behavior within an intimate relationship that causes physical, psychological, or sexual harm to those in the relationship. We found that it is not uncommon for a person that falls as a victim of interpersonal violence to know the perpetrator. In fact, well over 50% of all victims are attacked by spouses, boyfriend, girlfriends, or even ex-spouses. Also, 34% of sexual offenses take place on a college campus. As it relates back to our campus community, sexual offenses have tripled in between the years of 2009 and 2011. Because this problem doesn't seem to be slacking off any, there are organizations on campus that started a few initiatives to raise awareness and educate our community on how to take preventive measures. A survey was administered to fresh years in 2010, and over 100 of those 4,000 admitted fresh years admitted to being in a physical abusive relationship. These results put things in perspective for the members of DMAC to open our eyes, and that there are a lot more victims on campus that we initially didn't think of, because we didn't have the opportunity to account for those who probably didn't give honest answers on the surveys administered in 2010, and even those who weren't current fresh years at the time, including sophomores, juniors, seniors. We've discussed one act in Haven on numerous occasions, and as we applaud the initiatives, because they in fact does encourage our campus to become more educated on the issue and pushes everyone to come together and take one act to prevent interpersonal violence, whether it's by supporting victims or intervening on episodes that we witness. We as a group took note that their presence is little to none during summer school, which is why we decided to pick up where they left off at the end of the spring term.
So once we decided on what we wanted to do for our project, which was our awareness campaign, we kind of threw out ideas on methods to achieve it. So we ended up coming up with what we thought was the best way, which would be to hand out flyers and posters out in the pit, and just getting out there and telling people what the problem was, telling them what interpersonal violence is, if they don't know what it is. And so the main purpose of the posters was to attract them, get them to come up and say, what are you doing, and so it has stuff like interpersonal violence and ask me and little arrows and stuff, so they'll know initially that we're out there to talk about interpersonal violence, whether they know what it is or not. And the flyers were meant to be handed out so they could have something to reflect on later on if they wanted to. And usually having something tangible in your hands to look at, it helps you remember things better. The information that we gave them, they could remember better if they had something to go back to later. And there was also an incentive to taking the flyers, which took the form of candy that we attached to the paper. We had Now or Laters and some little Snickers and stuff like that. It's pretty good candy that people like. And so we all met to get together and make the posters so that we could get our ideas flowing and you know, get our creative energy on. And we wanted to come up with like some catchy phrases to put on the posters to, you know, kind of give people something to remember about our campaign, you know, something else. And so my personal favorite was a poster, and it had like hands on it, and it said, "Look, Ma, no hands," and it's talking about how abuse is prohibited. I thought that was funny. And then we had another poster, it was, and this was one of Marissa's favorites, like, "Don't turn the other cheek, because yours could be next," like that, stuff like that, you know, beat it up, but don't beat it up. Kind of inappropriate, but we thought it got the message across. And then we also made some surveys to hand out to people so that we could get feedback on our campaign and how we executed it, how we got our information across and everything like that. So on the actual day of our campaign, we all met in the pit right out there, and we got our flyers and our posters out, and we started holding up the posters and kind of trying to get people to come towards us and stuff. And then we had one member who handed out flyers. And then we would all join in and talk about, you know, the information. We would all kind of do that together as a group. And we also split up and did that kind of thing. And so we wanted to get out the posters that we thought would be the most attractive, like the more funny posters, because we made a lot of posters. We had more than members, but we would kind of alternate and hold different posters up. And so, like, we would also ask people if they knew what interpersonal violence was before we actually talked. And I think they kind of knew what it meant, but they didn't have like a clear definition. So then we would come in and kind of give out some details, like what interpersonal violence is, mainly like stalking, relationship abuse, and sexual assault. So, and that kind of we'd have to be kind of aggressive in seeking out people, because not as many people came up to us as we thought would. We thought there really weren't that many people out there, except orientation was going on, and there were a lot of upcoming freshmen out there who weren't really our target audience. We kind of should have thought about that before, but we ended up talking with some of them too. But there weren't as many people in our target audience that we thought there would be. So we had to go up to them and talk to them and ask if they wanted some flyers with candy on them. So the flyers were more detailed and gave them a better idea of what we were out there for. And then so we have some clips of us out in the pit doing our thing.
Want to know about interpersonal violence? Ask me.
Abuse is prohibited. Talk about IPV, interpersonal violence.
We're doing a campaign about interpersonal violence. It kind of focuses on emotional abuse, stalking, sexual assault. Once you get here, you're going to fill your email, you'll get a lot of information.
Yes.
That's what we're trying to raise awareness for. It's like sexual assault and relationship violence. What was the last thing? Stalking. Stalking was the last thing. So yeah, we're just trying to get out there.
Personal violence is focused on, you know, sexual abuse, stalking, all that. So we're doing a summer campaign right now to raise the awareness. You know, during the summer they have programs like One Act in Haven. So, you know, we're just out trying to raise the awareness for that. All right, man. Have a good
Nice to meet you. Know what you need?
Yeah, stalking, sexual assault, and They're more prevalent on campus than we think, but there are programs such as Haven and One Act. Haven is a training that you go through, and it just teaches you how to comfort people and support people who have been survivors of interpersonal violence. There's also One Act, which helps you become an active bystander. So it teaches you to recognize if interpersonal violence is going on, and how to be an active bystander in situations like that. And since those programs aren't really active in the summer, we're just here to raise awareness and let people know that in the fall and in the spring you can become a member of these programs and take the training so that if you know someone who's been a part of interpersonal violence, you can support them and also be an active bystander to interpersonal violence.
normally throughout the school year, there's programs like One Act and Haven that teaches people about interpersonal violence prevention. Interpersonal violence is like stalking, relationship abuse, and sexual assault, which goes on here all the time. So that's why during the summer we just have a little campaign. We're just notifying people so we know.
Cool. Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
No problem.
As a recent graduate, what do you feel the university has done well or could do better to better notify the student body about the issue of interpersonal violence?
I'm not sure. I'm not very aware of many things except North Carolina that the university does, except offering Haven trainings and things like that. I think those are great.
Do you think the Carolina alerts are effective? Do you think people pay attention to them? Or
I don't know how effective they are for this particular issue. I think they're okay for tornadoes and things, but I haven't heard a lot about. I think this usually often happens between people who already know each other, right?
Yeah.
And so that often goes unreported, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm good. Thank you.
You know what interpersonal violence is? Okay, it's basically stalking.
Silence has violence. Speak out against IPV. Real men ask.
Don't turn the other cheek. Yours could be next.
Great, thank you. It's about interpersonal violence, yeah. Basically, you guys are incoming freshmen?
Yes.
Okay, well, basically, interpersonal violence, we're just spreading awareness because people talk about it during the school year, but not really during the summer. It's basically, the most common form is sexual assault. People get sexually assaulted on campus all the time. So when you come here, you'll get emails, a mass-wide email, 3 o'clock in the morning on Church Street, someone was assaulted, blah, blah, blah. So that's why we're just spreading awareness because there's different organizations that talk about prevention and how to help somebody who has been a victim of interpersonal violence.
Don't turn the other.
Yes, so don't ignore it because you could be next. It could happen to you. It could be anybody. Yeah. So thank you for your time. No, this is real. Welcome to UNC. D-Squared Mac faced many challenges and successes on our journey to deliver our service project. Initially, we considered partnering up with organizations such as One Act and planning and promoting their Relationship Assault Awareness Month that takes place in October. Unfortunately, the planning would not begin until after this assignment was due, which actually supported our previously stated notion that organizations that spread awareness about interpersonal violence don't have strong presence during the summertime, maybe due to smaller amounts of students being on campus. We were also interested in partnering up with Haven and having them provide training sessions to students for our project. But the training sessions were 4 hours long, which doesn't seem pretty favorable to students who are in intensive summer school classes. When we reached out to UNC to see if there were any areas that currently needed our help, we did not receive many opportunities that we could immediately work on, such as the Relationship Violence Awareness Month in October. One representative reached out in response to a new male initiative geared specifically towards potential undergraduate male allies. But despite not being able to work on this initiative, we were able to transfer this information over to the Embrace Committee of BSM, which focuses on instilling positive image for brothers across UNC's campus. One of the largest challenges that we faced occurred during the day of our actual campaign, which was the weather. And we planned to pit sit from 11:30 to 1:30 p.m., but at 11:15 it was already pouring outside. So the pit was abandoned. It seemed like our campaign was doomed. So next we just attempted to think of backup plans such as moving into the union, but student union rules and regulations wouldn't allow it. So the only thing we could do was wait, which actually worked because the rain did eventually stop. So we just set up our campaign in the pit right in front of student stores. But one simple thing we could have done differently was just to check the weather forecast for the day that we planned to campaign. And this would at least allow our group not to be shocked when we saw the rain. Another change that we could have been made was just to initially come up with backup plans so we wouldn't have been scattering like we were the day of the campaign, trying to think of plan B and plan C in case the rain in case it kept on raining. So that would have just allowed our project to move more swiftly in case the rain did actually continue. Another challenge we faced was addressing our target audience with our campaign. We initially said our target audience would have been UNC community, so students, staff, and faculty. But without staff or faculty in our path, our new audience became some students and a lot of incoming freshmen at CTOPS. And since the prospective first years were not included in our target audience, it was a bit of a disappointment to have to talk to them because we felt like they're not students at UNC, but their reaction proved that they should have initially been included in our target audience because a lot of them had no idea that sexual assault actually took place at UNC, and they all seemed pretty surprised. So it was good to be able to reach out to them so that they are now able to come into their college career already being aware of interpersonal violence and how to prevent it and the initiatives on campus that are trying to stop it. Even though our group knew that we wanted to specifically address interpersonal violence awareness and prevention during the summertime, we could have paid closer attention to our actual audience during the summertime, which showed to be mostly students and incoming first years. With our location in front of student stores, we did not encounter as nearly as many students as we had expected. This mostly had to do with the fact that the pit is just not as lively during the summertime and people don't have time to socialize and just stand in the pit like they normally do. So if we had accounted for the CTOPS to be in session, we would have been able to predict the abundance of first-year students that we spoke to. And our change in location would have also helped us encounter more of our target audience that we projected. So we could have scouted a classroom or a building that was more popular from 11:30 to 1:30 and stood outside, so we could have gotten more students and more faculty and staff that we had hoped for. One of the telling signs of our success was the reaction from individuals who had learned something new. So many were shocked about first hearing about the issue of interpersonal violence who had never heard about it before, and many were also interested to hear about the training sessions that UNC and Haven offer. So this new awareness and realization gave hope to the prevention of the issue in the future. Practically everyone surveyed knew that they had learned at least one new fact about interpersonal violence, which said something about the success of our group. Everyone also answered that our information encouraged them to learn more about interpersonal violence and prevention. And all of the people surveyed noted that our group presented information in the best possible way. One person said that our group was enthusiastic and informational. Another person noted that now they knew how to get involved. So these responses to our survey may have been the best factor in sealing the success of our class service project.
So, as far as the group processes that we used in our projects, as far as cohesiveness, I think we started out with task-based cohesiveness, and that we all wanted to come together, and the main goal as it relates to COMM 223 was to get a good grade on the project. Therefore, each of the group members is willing to do what we needed to do in order to get a good grade, which would be putting in our fair share of the work, writing portions of the paper, bringing materials, whatever we had to do to get the project completed. As it relates to picking a topic, we included both aspects of groupthink and anchoring. We all came to the table with certain ideas, but once one group member suggested a certain idea, we all thought that it was a great idea, so we just immediately went with that once he said it. Since we had to complete the project in such a short amount of time, we did want to get ideas on the table quickly and hurry up and decide on one. And as far as leadership of the group, even though one member did take the initiative to come up with the idea and all of the group members followed, there wasn't really a set leader. Each person stepped into the plate at different times and took the leadership role. For example, when it came to handing out flyers and things like that, one of the group members definitely got the ball rolling and took the initiative to walk up to people and pass out flyers, and just kind of got everybody else on board and less scared to talk to people, and he just kind of built up the confidence for the group to go out and make sure that we talked to as many people as we could. And then when it came to writing the paper, another group member took more of the initiative to say what we should include in the paper as far as structure, and definitely took more of a role in editing the paper. And then when it came to assessing the project as a whole, we definitely, at first unknowingly, took the steps of the John Dewey reflective process. And first thing we did was define the problem. So obviously we decided to address the issue of interpersonal violence on campus. And then secondly, we analyzed the problem. We wanted to talk about why there was a lack of awareness about interpersonal violence on campus. Thirdly, we wanted to analyze optimal solutions. So we just wanted to make sure that we could find solutions that were feasible for us to do as college students during the summer. We definitely took into account cost, time, and materials to see what we could do. Next, we came up with possible solutions. We thought of fundraising, awareness campaigns, just different aspects of awareness campaigns as far as what we wanted to include in the awareness campaign. And then finally, we took the time to see, if we do an awareness campaign, what is the end result going to look like, and what people are we going to reach, and how are they going to accept the information that we're giving them. So ultimately, we did decide to go with an awareness campaign, and with that, we of course stood in the pit and had posters, gave out flyers, some candy incentives for taking the time to listen to us, and yeah.
We members of DMAC became deeply invested in the problem and how it relates to campus community. Interpersonal violence is underreported, underprosecuted, and underpunished, allowing it to occur in secrecy, ignorance, and shame. However, it's important that the community breaks its silence and take active roles in reducing the issue. If you turn your right cheek, your butt cheek might be next. Our campaign was a success in breaking the silence as our audience was not only made aware, but educated on how they as individuals can make a difference. We as a group, DMAC, pledge to believe and support people who have experienced any form of interpersonal violence and know and utilize the resources in my community to do so.
Talk to others about why we oppose sexual assault, abusive relationships, stalking, and all forms of interpersonal violence.
Continue to educate ourselves about why interpersonal violence is so prevalent in our society and how we can help prevent it.
Listen to our friends and partners' fears and concerns for safety.
Support all people working together to end interpersonal violence.
Role model healthy relationships and talk openly with sexual partners about consent.
Pay attention to cries for help and or warning signs and take action.
Recognize and confront any images of interpersonal violence in our everyday lives.
Encourage a friend to attend a one-act presentation.
We're DMAC and we approve this message.
Beat it up, but don't beat it up.